Hello guys, this is Divine Prism with a new video on this channel. Do you guys remember when Pokemon X and Y was under speculation? There was a rumor flying around that Game Freak was going to add new typings, light and sound. However, only one type became a reality, which came to be known as Fairy type, proving to be one of the best typings in the game. But what if Sound type gets introduced in Generation 10 of Pokemon? How would it interact with other types? What existing Pokemons will get it? Now let's find that out. At first, I'll be discussing which types it would be super effective against. First type that comes to my mind is the Ghost typing. The Sound type will be super effective against Ghost because of the logic that speed of sound is less than gas. And by Pokemon's logic, Ghost type is basically a gaseous state. So Sound moves will take their time while moving past a Ghost Pokemon, dealing more damage, thus being super effective. Moreover, Ghost type only has two weaknesses, that is Ghost and Dark type. So one more weakness won't hurt it that much. The second typing that would be weak to sound is purely for balancing purposes. It is the typing that has been dominating the competitive scene. You guessed it, the Fairy type. Now when it comes to applying logic to this, let's just say that waves and frequencies, they mess with Fairy's magical abilities and hence it becomes weak to sound. When I was looking at the matchup chart for each types, all of the typings looked like they didn't need any changes in terms of defense. Until I saw how good Water type was defensively. This typing is so good that it gave rise to the term bulky water types for Pokemon like Suicune and Milotic. This type is so good defensively that players prefer to terrestrialize into this type. Scientifically, and to prove it lore-wise, Sound type would be effective against it. Even though the speed of sound in liquid is faster than that in gas, but not by a huge margin. So water being weak to sound made the most sense to me, both in terms of in-game mechanics and lore. Now that we are done with super effective matchups, let's see who the Sound types would resist. In my opinion, Sound should resist Ghost, since Ghost is the best offensive typing in the game, only resisted by Dark. Although Normal is immune to it and vice versa, we need one more typing that would be consistent in dealing with Ghost. So Sound is the best contender. Ghost typing would go from being the best to a very good offensive typing, so it will not be a huge nerf. Next up, I believe that the Sound should resist itself due to the fact that the opposing sound waves will try to obstruct each other. Remember, previously I told you guys that fairies would be weak to sound because their magical powers will get nullified by the sound waves. I thought about making it into a resistance, but then I decided to make it into an immunity for the sound types to have against the fairy types. The reasons for which you'll understand soon. Also, I was thinking about it having a resistance to the water type as well, but I wasn't so sure about it, and I'll let you guys decide on that. Now, let's hop on to the types that would resist or would be immune to the Sound type. It is a fact that speed of sound is fast when it passes through a solid, so it won't have any time to do any damage. And what types resemble the solid state? Yup, rock, ice and steel. So by logic, these three typings would resist the sound. Rock and ice are pretty bad defensively, so it is a nice buff to have. While steel is already the best defensive typing out there, but it got nerfed in Generation 6 as it lost its resistance to Ghost and Dark. So this buff would balance out the previous nerfs. Point to be noted is that the ground type can kind of work as a solid, but it doesn't need any buffs, since it is perfect as it is. I would also love if Dragon type is immune to sound. This would create a perfect triangle between Fairy, Sound and Dragon types. I'll go into more detail in the next section. That is the weakness of Sound types. As we were talking about the Dragon types just now, let's begin with my reasoning as to why I believe that Dragon types are super effective against the Sound types. Speaking lore-wise, dragon moves are basically the raw and pure form of magical powers, while the fairies are the concentrated versions of the same. while sound can defend itself from the concentrated power of the fairies, but the raw dragon power overwhelms it. Next up is the bug typing, which will be super effective against the sound types. Because bugs have always gotten shafted, they need some love too. First in Generation 2, we saw steel resisting it, followed by fairies in Generation 6, which also resisted it. Well, that's kind of sad. But this buff will grant a reason to use the bug moves more frequently. Lastly, I'll have the sound types to be weak against poison, since it is a very bad offensive typing, only super effective against grass and fairy, and even gets overshadowed by steel as a fairy killer. This will give more viability to poison moves. Now that we are done with the type matchups, let's decide which mons can get this typing. I believe that Jigglypuff line would be a good contender to the sound types, and Exploud line would definitely suit the sound types as well. Talking about Noivern and Como-O, they fit their original typing a lot, but I believe that they should be given an ability that gives them a stab on sound moves. Toxtricity and Rillaboom would be good contenders as well. Now you guys comment down in the comments below and tell me, according to you, which Pokemon deserves a sound typing. Now talking about moves, I think the move Hyper Voice should be made into a special sound move. There should be a new physical sound move made that has 85 base power and 100 accuracy. Some moves like Growl and Howl will become sound types. The move Boom Burst can become sound type too, but I hope it doesn't, because then it'll become too powerful, so let's keep it as its original typing, which is a normal type. However, certain sound-based moves like Tot Song and Clangorous Scales will remain their original types. And lastly, I believe that sound moves should be able to go through substitute. Alright, this is the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. The thought behind this video took its time, so I hope you all appreciate my efforts. Let me know in the comments below how you liked my ideas, and like, share and subscribe for more content like this.